I'm Johnny D from Johnny Lives.
I'm Art.
Oh, here with Art. Alexakis from Everclear. Hi, Art.
How you doing, bro?
What's happening, man?
Cold. We're up in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Tehe. So we're gonna go do one of our probably the last college gig that we've done on this promo tour. But
It's bittersweet.
It kind of is. We've been hanging out. We hung out before. We were on tour before. We're gonna be on tour again. So
The never-ending ride.
the never-ending ride, pretty much.
So I'm here to talk with Art about some energy facts and just kind of about the environment. I was wondering, I know personally where you grew up, but I was wondering, the people at home, maybe everyone doesn't know. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, west side of LA. Born in Santa Monica, lived in Redondo Beach as a kid. When my parents broke up and my dad split, my mom moved into a housing project where I grew up from the age of 6 to the age of 13, which, looking back on it seems like 7 years, but they're so important, those 7 years. And then I lived in LA probably up until the time I was about 25, 26. Lived in San Francisco for a while, and now I live in Portland. I've lived in Portland since 1991.
I know I only visit LA kind of infrequently, but we always hear about the smog there, and I haven't ever been to Portland, but I hear it's pretty darn beautiful there. Do you think it differs in terms of like being a kid growing up in a lot of smog and pollution versus being more in a city that's kind of based outdoors?
Right. That's a really good question. Growing up in Los Angeles, I remember when they would close school, as an elementary
because
school.
Of a smog
because
thing?
of smog.
Wow.
Yeah, where you'd hear like the air raid siren go off.
Is this like the late 70s?
This is early 70s.
Early
70s, mid 70s. Even through high school, I graduated in '80, so the 70s were my time of going to school. And I remember the few times I'd fly away and come in, I remember coming in and seeing just this curtain of, a quarter-mile curtain hanging in the air of smog.
Wow.
That I was just like, God, we're breathing that in. It was just weird to me that people could live in that kind of environment.
Right.
And that, everybody just looked at it as normal. And now these are the days before the catalytic converter. And so things have per vehicle gotten better.
Right.
And I think a lot of practices in the industrial way of doing things have gotten better. But I think just the sheer output of how many people, how many cars are on the road, how many people are turning on lights every night, I think that just has gotten rid of any benefits that some of the technological advancements have made. I mean, especially in Los Angeles, in any big city I go to, I travel a lot my whole life.
Yeah.
My whole adult life I've traveled a lot. And just to see the effects of just our flagrant disregard of the environment on this country has just been kind of stunning to me, and has really helped me change the way I look at things and the way I act as far as the environment goes.
How old do you think you were, in a range, when you realized that, you saw the smog and you were wondering, this can't be good for me because it's making me cough, or, it's turning everything brown. But when do you think it really, entered into your consciousness that the things that you did and your family and your friends had an actual real effect on the earth in like a negative or positive way, that it wasn't just some playground, from childhood? I guess there's a point, and it's different for everyone. I'm just curious.
I think that point has been happening in different ways over the years for me. I think when I was young, it was really, I remember it really just making sense to me that back in the 60s and 70s, I don't know if you remember this, but people would just drive down the street and throw trash out their window and think nothing of it. I remember my dad, back in the 60s, he would make us put all the trash in the bag when we go to McDonald's, and we'd be driving down a residential street, and he'd just throw it out on the street, which just sounds ludicrous to me now. But even as a kid, I'm like, who's gonna pick that up?
Right.
You know, who's gonna? And I don't even know if that's an environmental issue. That's just a manners issue.
Mm-hmm.
It just amazed me
Yeah.
that people would do that. So that hit home really early. I never have littered. It's always bothered me, and when people throw things out, I go pick them up. Even when I smoke cigarettes, flicking a cigarette out the window just seemed like a wrong thing to do.
Totally.
And after becoming a dad, I became really good at picking up trash. Not just my kid, other kid. I'll walk down the hallway and I'll see like paper or something, I'll pick it up. So the reason I'm talking about that is I think that mentality is what carries over to making yourself recycle,
Right.
making yourself become more conscious about, do I need to drive my car to the store, or can I walk?
Mhm.
Or can I do something? Do we need 2 cars going out right now? Maybe we can just put one trip together and go out and do it. And actually, one thing that's really come home in the last 2 years is the fact that I drive a bigger car, and I've been trying to get rid of it. And finally, I'm getting rid of it and getting a much more environmental car. I'm trying to get the money up to get a hybrid.
Right.
If I can't get that, then I'm just going to get a smaller car that gets better gas mileage.
So I think when we first actually met and I came out on tour with you guys, I was talking to you just about the very, it was really my simplest introduction into sort of renewable energy, me getting that Dodge Sprinter van.
I asked you about it, and then you asked me what kind of car I drove at home, and I told you I was driving an SUV that I was locked into a 4-year lease and couldn't get out of because of financial situations. But one of the things that I did do is I found out about it through Vanessa, through my girlfriend. She found this thing called TerraPass.
Mm-hmm.
That's spelled TerraPass, www.terrapass.com. And TerraPass basically is an organization that takes, depending on your vehicle, if you've got environmental, an economical vehicle, it's less. If you've got an SUV like me, it's more. And you pay a certain amount of money a year, and that money goes straight to organizations that do work cleaning the environment.
Right.
Whether it's, in one way or not paying for filters, protests, whatever, it goes right to the environmental movement.
And they have actually a system of weights and balances.
Absolutely.
In TerraPass, and I know of a few others where they take something called your energy footprint, which we talk about in the Rock and Renew
Right.
sort of challenge, where we're getting the kids to go through and make their own energy footprint at home,
Right.
to see exactly how much energy they're using and what of it is waste. And if you're able to make donations to these organizations, they go in and they basically, as well as funding all of this great environmental research and lobbying, they also fund to create the exact amount of clean energy that you're using from fossil
Right.
fuels.
Exactly. And
Which is great.
So, on its own, when you think about it, my TerraPass was $75, but when you take that and, basically multiply it by 1 million or 2 million people, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's a lot that can be done. And even though it doesn't make up for the fact that I'm driving a car that isn't economical from the point of view as being green, as being good to the environment, where I'm at financially right now, I'm at the point right now where I'm going to, that lease is up and I'm going to go to a different car. And I think it's not only just the action, it's the mindset of saying, okay, I can do something about it from my level. What is my energy footprint around the house? Where am I leaving on lights? What am I doing? What that I can do? Still live a comfortable life, but focus on the less as opposed to the more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something that's important to me, because if everybody does that, it's just going to make so much of a difference.